Hey guys, today is Sunday, June 7th, and today's lesson is from Proverbs. It's our first lesson in Proverbs. We switched literature, so we've switched books, the Bible, and we're going to start at the beginning, Proverbs 1. And before we do that, the verses for the scripture today come from verses 7 through 19. But we're going to start with verse 1 so we can get a little background on what's going on. So Proverbs 1 through 6 says, the Proverbs of Solomon, son of David, king of Israel. All right, so Solomon wrote this book. All right. And then in the next 5 verses, he's going to tell us what he wrote it about. For gaining wisdom and instruction, for understanding words of insight, for receiving instruction in prudent behavior, doing what is right and fair and just, for giving prudence to those who are simple, knowledge and discreet among the young. Let the wise men listen and add to their learning, and let the discerning get guidance, for understanding proverbs and parables, the sayings and riddles of the wise. All right, so these 6 verses are basically an introduction. Solomon tells us why he's writing the book. He's writing it to help other people be wise. He's writing it to give instruction, so people can learn and do what's right and know what to do with the knowledge they already have. So that's his point for writing the book of Proverbs. So let's talk about what it means to be wise. According to Proverbs, wisdom has to do with putting knowledge into practice. Okay, so wisdom and intelligence are not the same thing, but there has to be a little knowledge for you to put it into practice. However, let me try that again, guys. However, who are truly wise don't just use their knowledge. True wisdom is putting knowledge into practice in ways that honor God and that promote the good of the people around us. So we're not just showing people how smart we are. We're not just showing even people how wise we are, but we're using that wisdom to help people around us and to honor God. So that's why Solomon wrote the book, to teach us how to use our wisdom to honor God. All right, so this week's verses start with verse 7, and these are the first 3 verses. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction. Listen, my son, to your father's instruction, and do not forsake your mother's teaching. They are a garland to grace your head and a chain to adorn your neck. All right, so here we go. Verse 1, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. Let's be careful with the word fear, okay? It's not that we're afraid of the Lord like we're scared of him. The fear is that we acknowledge the awesomeness of God. So it's a healthy fear, a fear that we know that God is in control, a fear that we know that God is knows what we're doing, and we can't hide from him. So fear of the Lord is a kind of like a reverence for his awesomeness, not go in the closet because we're afraid. All right, now the next 2 verses deal with your parents. Now, for some of you, this is going to be hard. What Solomon is telling us is to listen to what our fathers and mothers tell us, because that's the beginning of being wise. Now, so some of you are thinking, okay, I can do that. My mom and dad teach me things, and that's the beginning of being wise. Some of you think, that's ridiculous. I don't even have a mom or a dad. And some of you think, I've got a mom and a dad, but I don't think they're very wise. So you kind of take your own situation. But the point that Solomon is making is that there needs to be someone in your life, preferably your mom and dad, who teach you things that go into your wisdom. They teach you how to handle situations. They teach you how to know what's right and what's wrong. So if you don't have parents that do that, then there needs to be someone else in your life that can do that for you. That's why you need to come to Sunday school. That's why you need to come on Wednesday nights, so that you can gain wisdom like people are supposed to from their parents. Okay, this is very interesting. I like these verses 10 through 14. My son, if sinful men entice you, do not give in to them. So this time Solomon saying, okay, there's going to be people in the world that are going to try to convince you to do something wrong. Do not give in to them. And then he's going to give 11 through 14 are things that people are going to tell you. If they say, come along with us, let's lie in wait for an innocent blood and ambush some harmless soul. So this would be, let's attack someone. It could be a physical attack, or it could be just a verbal, emotional attack. You're just waiting for someone to come along that you can take advantage of. But swallow them alive like the grave and the hole. Those who do not go down in the pit will get all sorts of valuable things and fill our houses with their plunder. And cast lots and share the loot. So the second verses are about stealing from people. Question: what do people say or promise to get you to do the things you shouldn't do? Now you think about your own life. What are some things that people say to you or promise you, or maybe make things sound better than they are, and by that they trick you into sinning? Now we can't answer that for each other. We have to answer that by ourselves. So what happens in our lives so that people trick us into not being wise and doing things we shouldn't do, like hurting people, stealing, just being mean in general, hopefully not ambushing a harmless soul, but physically, but we could do that emotionally. So think about, what do people say to trick you into sinning? All right. Then this is where he continues to talk about people tricking you into sinning. My son, do not go along with them. Do not set foot on their paths. So he's talking to my son, but then he's talking about these people that trick you into sinning. So he says, don't go along with those people. Do not set foot in their paths. Don't go where they do. Don't do what they do. Ignore them. Go somewhere else. For their feet rush into evil, and they are swift to shed blood. How useless to spread a net where every bird can see it. These men lie in wait for their own blood, and they ambush only themselves. Such are the paths of all who go after ill-gotten gain. It takes away the life of those who get it. So he says, do not follow their paths. They're only harming themselves. They're only sinning against themselves. They're not helping you. It's not good. All right, let's think about these questions as we finish today. How would you think most students would define the word wisdom? So if you were to go to one of your classes at school, or where you work or whatever, when you see other teenagers and you say, hey, what's wisdom? What do you think they would say? I would think most of them would say something about intelligence. I don't think many of them would add the part of doing what glorifies God and uplifts people to their wisdom definition. How can you help each other see through the lies of sin? Okay. That question I can't answer. You may have to, if you're with a bunch of people and you say, hey, come on, let's do this, and it's wrong, then someone in your group needs to say, no, we're not doing that. They're keeping you from the lies of sin. When are you most tempted to join in with the sins of others? I don't know, guys. You think about that. When you're lonely, when you're sad. And finally, how might a change of scenery help you win the fight against sin? This goes back to the verse that says, don't follow in their paths. Sometimes you just need to get away from people. If they're causing you to sin, you may just need to get away from them. All right, we're going to continue in the book of Proverbs for a while, each Sunday talking about a different part of wisdom. So today we learned the definition of wisdom. We learned that wisdom needs to be learned, applied to knowledge to glorify God. and that people are going to trick us into sinning, and we have to be wise enough to see the trick, and we have to have a plan to abandon the sin. So you try that this week, and next week we'll add to our wisdom learning. Thanks, guys.